Do not be deceived by appearances. What you see in this outer world is but the shadow of your inner life. If you dare to assume and persist in that assumption, the thing longed for must come, but it will come at the appointed hour, not a second before, not a second after. The delay is not denial, it is preparation. Everything moves according to a divine order. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up the next day to check its progress. You trust that in the unseen depths of the soil, life is working. So it is with your imagination. The moment you assume the wish fulfilled, the seed is sown. The outer world takes its time, but the inner world has already declared it done. Your task is not to force results, but to live from the end. Walk in the conviction that it is already yours. Feel the reality of it so deeply that time itself bends to your assumption. The world will conspire, circumstances will align, and doors will open, but only at the perfect moment. So tonight, close your eyes and dare to imagine. Rest in the feeling of fulfillment and release every anxious thought. The unseen hand is at work. The harvest will not fail. Trust the process, for what belongs to you cannot be lost, and what you desire is already moving toward you. Live in the end, and you will discover that at the right time, in the right way, your desire will come rushing into your world. Outer reality is nothing more than the reflection of the convictions you carry within. Just as a shadow has no life of its own, but only follows the form that casts it, the events, people, and circumstances of your world only echo the state you persist in imagining. If you see lack, it is because within you entertained thoughts of limitation. If you see abundance, it is because you dared to assume abundance as true. The world bends to the inner pattern you sustain, for assumption clothes itself in form and projects outward as the life you call reality, when the desire you hold within seems slow to appear. Understand that delay is not a sign that life has refused you. It is the necessary preparation for its perfect unfolding. Just as a seed placed in the soil requires time to germinate, grow roots, and break through the surface before bearing fruit, your assumption must be allowed its season. The unseen work is taking place beyond the reach of your senses, yet it is real, vital, and essential. Every seeming pause is aligning circumstances, people, and events so that when your desire enters the stage of visibility, it does so in harmony with the whole. To grow restless or doubtful during this interval is to disturb the soil where the seed is planted. Your only task is to remain faithful to the inner vision, living in the joy of the fulfilled desire now. The time between assumption and manifestation is not wasted time, it is the divine orchestration of order, timing, and precision. Delay is the universe's way of ensuring that what you have imagined enters your world not half-formed or misplaced, but complete, secure, and undeniable. For nothing can be denied to the one who remains steadfast in belief. Every desire carries within itself the seed of its fulfillment, and that seed has an appointed hour when it must bloom. Just as every season arrives at its destined time, every flower blossoms according to its own rhythm, and every star appears in the night sky at its appointed moment, so too does your desire unfold in perfect order. You may not know the exact day or hour, but the moment you dare to assume the wish fulfilled, the process has already begun. The invisible realm has accepted your assumption as fact, and life begins to move, often in ways unseen, to bring it into view. Impatience often tempts you to question the process, to wonder if you have been overlooked or forgotten. But you must remember that the timing of manifestation is not random. The delay is not to frustrate you, but to prepare the stage so that when your desire appears, it does so without resistance, confusion, or disruption. Every person, every circumstance, every detail is being aligned so that the manifestation arrives in fullness, not fragments. Your part is not to watch the clock of the outer world, but to remain faithful to the inner conviction. Continue to live in the end, to feel the reality of the desire as though it were already present, and trust that life honors this inner state unfailingly. Just as dawn follows night without fail, so does the manifestation follow the assumption. The appointed hour cannot be rushed, nor can it be delayed. It is precise, perfect, and certain. When you remain loyal to your vision, the day will come when the invisible becomes visible, and what you once held only in imagination will stand before you in undeniable reality. Imagination is the fertile soil of your life, the invisible ground into which every thought, every assumption, every vision is planted. Just as no farmer expects a harvest without first sowing seeds, no individual can expect transformation without first sowing in imagination. What you dare to conceive within becomes the pattern from which your outer world takes shape. Every scene you rehearse, every feeling you nurture, every image you hold faithfully is deposited into this soil, and the unseen processes of life go to work to bring it forth. You cannot reap what you do not sow. If you fill your imagination with worry, doubt, and fear, you are planting seeds that must eventually produce a harvest of difficulty. If instead you sow joy, confidence, abundance, and love, then the soil of imagination cannot help but yield a life reflecting those qualities. The soil does not discriminate, it does not question whether the seed is noble or destructive. Its only function is to bring forth after its kind. Therefore, the responsibility rests entirely on the sower, for imagination will faithfully reproduce whatever has been entrusted to it. Consider how natural it is for a farmer to trust the unseen growth of a seed. He does not dig into the ground each morning to check if progress is being made. He waters, nurtures, and waits with assurance that life is stirring beneath the surface. So too must you treat the seeds of imagination. Once you have planted by assuming the wish fulfilled, your work is to remain faithful to that inner picture. To doubt or contradict it is like uprooting the seed before it can sprout. Imagination is not idle fantasy. It is the creative workshop of reality. Every invention, every achievement, every great transformation in history began as a vision held in the unseen soil of mind. Your life is no exception. Guard what you plant, choose your seeds wisely, and persist in nurturing the inner vision. In time, the harvest must come. For the soil of imagination is perfectly designed to bring forth in the outer world the exact likeness of the seeds you have sown within. The wish fulfilled must be assumed now, for there is no other time but the present in which creation takes place. To assume your desire in the future is to postpone it endlessly, for tomorrow is always tomorrow, never today. The moment of power is always now, and it is in this now that you clothe yourself in the reality of your fulfilled wish. You must dare to occupy the state inwardly before it can ever express outwardly. For the outer world is nothing but the shadow cast by the inner assumption you hold with conviction. When you assume the wish fulfilled, you are not waiting for evidence to convince you, nor are you pleading with life to deliver what seems absent. You are declaring with authority that the desire is already yours in consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality. The senses may deny it, reason may oppose it, and the world may laugh at it, yet you persist in dwelling in the feeling of accomplishment. It is not about waiting for proof, but about living from the inner, knowing that proof must follow, because assumption always clothes itself in form. To assume now is to bypass the false idea of time as an obstacle. Time does not create, imagination creates. Time only reveals in sequence what has already been accepted within. If you wait for better conditions, more evidence, or a sign from the world, you will remain in the posture of longing instead of possession. But if you close your eyes, shift your attention, and surrender to the reality of having it now, you step into the creative act itself. It is the act of assumption, taken in the present moment, that sets in motion the unseen currents of life. You must learn to dwell in the end, to make the unseen more real than the seen. Let the tones of reality saturate your imagination, until you can feel the joy, the relief, the gratitude of already having received what you once called a desire. This inner certainty generates the outer reflection, and the world will rearrange itself in obedience to your state. It is not struggle, effort, or anxious striving that produces results, but the quiet conviction of having already arrived. Every great achievement, every manifestation, every transformation begins with this bold step, assuming the wish fulfilled now. Refuse to wait, refuse to postpone, refuse to be deceived by appearances. Stand firmly in the state of fulfillment, and let life unfold according to your inner vision. What you claim in imagination this very moment will inevitably externalize, for the world cannot resist the authority of an assumption lived in the present. To live in conviction, not in doubt, is to stand unshakable in the awareness that your assumption of the wish fulfilled is the very power that creates the outer reflection you call reality. Doubt is the thief of fulfillment, for it questions, wavers, and hesitates, but conviction is the builder, steady and unwavering, insisting upon the truth of what is held within. When you live in conviction, you no longer measure life by appearances, for appearances are only the shadows of past states. You measure life by the inner certainty of your imagination, knowing that what you assume with persistence must in due time harden into fact. Doubt looks outward for evidence and is disappointed when the world has not yet shifted, but conviction knows that the unseen precedes the seen. Doubt asks, when will it come? While conviction declares, it is already here. Doubt clings to conditions and appearances, but conviction releases conditions and rests in the invisible reality. The one who lives in conviction sees with the eyes of faith, and in that unseen vision lies the secret of manifestation. To waver between the two is to plant a seed and then uproot it again and again, never allowing it to grow to harvest. Conviction is not blind stubbornness, it is a profound inner knowing, a willingness to trust imagination as the creative power of the universe. It is the decision to make your inner vision the law of your life, regardless of what reason or senses may declare. When you cultivate conviction, you train your mind to return again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled until it becomes so natural that doubt has no soil in which to grow. Doubt cannot live in the presence of sustained assumption. It withers as conviction strengthens. Living in conviction requires persistence. The outer world may take time to rearrange itself, but your inner world must remain unshaken. You do not demand immediate results. You trust divine order. Just as the farmer plants in confidence, knowing the seed must grow though unseen, so too must you persist in your assumption, refusing to be swayed by temporary appearances. Conviction says, though I do not yet see it with my eyes, I know it is mine, for I have claimed it within. This inner confidence is the force that bends the outer world into alignment. Doubt breeds anxiety, impatience, and fear, while conviction produces peace, assurance, and joy. Doubt exhausts you, for it is a state of conflict, but conviction strengthens you, for it is a state of harmony. When you walk in conviction, you walk with the calm authority of one who already possesses the treasure sought. Life responds to that inner confidence by opening doors, shifting circumstances, and aligning events to confirm what you have already accepted as true. To live in conviction is to decide, once and for all, that imagination is the only reality. It is to claim your desire with finality, to inhabit it with feeling, and to refuse to entertain the voices of fear or contradiction. In conviction lies creation, in doubt lies stagnation. Choose conviction, persist in it, and you will find that the world cannot resist the power of a mind that has accepted its dream as already accomplished. Do not force results. Trust divine timing, for the unfolding of your desire does not come by strain, anxiety, or restless effort, but by quiet faith in the unseen order of life. When you attempt to force outcomes, you declare unconsciously that you doubt the power within you. You push and struggle as though the world were against you, forgetting that the world is only a mirror of your inner state. Forcing results is an act of fear, but trusting divine timing is an act of confidence. It is the difference between grasping and receiving, between desperation and certainty, between believing in appearances and resting in truth. Every desire you hold has its appointed hour. Just as the seed takes root, sprouts, and matures in its own season, so too does your assumption of the wish fulfilled require its perfect interval before it blossoms into visibility. To force is to dig up the soil to check the seed, disrupting its process and delaying its growth. To trust is to plant it in imagination, water it with feeling, and rest in the assurance that unseen forces are at work. The law is unfailing. What you assume must externalize, but it does so according to the divine rhythm, not the impatient demands of the human mind. The temptation to rush often comes from the illusion that you are incomplete until the desire shows itself outwardly. But when you assume the wish fulfilled, you are complete already. The feeling of possession, when faithfully sustained, erases the hunger of longing. You no longer live as one who waits, but as one who has. This inner rest is the soil in which manifestation grows. By contrast, striving reveals the inner belief that you do not yet have it, and the outer world can only echo that belief. The truth is that the desire is already yours the moment you claim it in consciousness. Time does not bring it to you. Time only unveils what was already established in the unseen. Trusting divine timing is not passive resignation but active faith. It is choosing daily to return to the inner state of fulfillment, to rehearse the scene of victory in imagination, to walk with the quiet dignity of one who knows that life responds to assumption. It is releasing the compulsion to check, to measure, to compare, to worry. It is knowing that every delay is working in your favor, aligning people, circumstances, and opportunities in a way you could never orchestrate by force. Divine timing arranges all details with precision, while human effort, when driven by fear, often creates confusion and resistance. Think of how nature flows without struggle. The sun rises and sets, the seasons change, the tides move, all with effortless order. Never does the ocean strain to reach the shore, nor does the tree force its fruit to ripen. Everything unfolds in harmony with its inherent rhythm. So too must you allow your manifestations to ripen without haste. When you live in conviction that what you assumed is already yours, you discover patience is not waiting but trusting. You no longer ask when or how, you simply rest in the knowing that it must appear because it already exists within you. Do not confuse delay with denial. Nothing can be denied to the one who persists in faith, and nothing can be forced before its time. Your work is not to wrestle with the world, but to master your own inner state. Stay faithful to the vision, nourish it with belief, and live in the feeling of its reality. Let life do the arranging, for it does so with wisdom greater than your own. When you cease forcing and begin trusting, you find peace in the process. You discover that the outer world bends in ways unexpected, and manifestations arrive in forms even more perfect than imagined. You realize that divine timing is never late, never early, but always exact. The seed of your desire is alive, and the unseen hand is guiding its growth. Trust it, rest in it, and know that what you have assumed will come, not by strain, but by the silent orchestration of perfect timing. Circumstances align when inner conviction is firm. For the outer world is nothing more than the obedient servant of the inner state. Life does not act independently of your consciousness. It reflects it, mirrors it, and bends to it. When you hold a wavering belief, you create wavering conditions. But when you hold a steady, immovable conviction, life gathers itself to confirm your inner stance. Conviction is the unseen magnet that pulls events, people, and opportunities into place with precision, while doubt scatters them and leaves you feeling powerless. To master conviction is to master the law of manifestation, for it is the fixed inner state that organizes the seemingly chaotic outer world. Think of conviction as the root of a tree. If the root is shallow, the tree is easily shaken by the wind, but if the root is deep and firm, no storm can uproot it. So it is with conviction. The world may present contrary evidence. Appearances may tempt you to surrender your vision, but if your conviction is rooted, you stand unshaken, and in time the winds themselves will carry the fruit of your assumption to you. Outer conditions cannot resist a mind that has accepted its desire as already fulfilled. Circumstances are not random. They are the natural outpicturing of your persistent inner state. Every conversation overheard, every encounter on the street, every so-called coincidence is part of the great tapestry woven by your assumption. When you dwell in conviction, these threads weave themselves with perfect order to deliver the scene you have rehearsed within. You do not have to force people to act, nor manipulate events to your favor. They move into place effortlessly because they have no choice but to comply with the state you occupy. Doubt, however, interrupts this alignment. It shifts your state, pulls you in and out of belief, and scatters the magnetic force of conviction. Imagine a compass needle constantly moving from one direction to another. It cannot guide you anywhere. The same is true of an inner state clouded by uncertainty. The world mirrors back the inconsistency, creating delays, obstacles, and confusion. But once you decide firmly that your desire is yours, once you inhabit the feeling of possession as though no other reality exists, the compass needle locks, and life organizes itself to lead you straight to the destination. The secret lies not in manipulating outer events, but in mastering your inner stance. If you persist in conviction long enough, the world must yield, because it has no substance of its own apart from your assumption. The people who appear in your life, whether to help, guide, or even challenge you, are instruments carrying out the script you have written in imagination. They may be unaware of their role, but they cannot help fulfilling it, for they are drawn into alignment by the force of your conviction. Consider how often so-called chance meetings, unexpected phone calls, or sudden opportunities appear the moment you finally settle into faith. These are not accidents, but the natural consequence of holding firm within. The moment you stop wavering, the outer world stops wavering too. Conviction is stability, and stability organizes chaos into order. Living in conviction requires discipline. It demands that you refuse the evidence of the senses when it contradicts your inner vision. It requires you to turn away from appearances and dwell instead in the unseen reality of imagination. It is not about ignoring the world, but about refusing to give it power over your belief. Conviction whispers, "This is already mine," even when the bank account is empty, the opportunity seems absent, or the condition appears unchanged. Conviction knows that these appearances are but shadows, already dissolving under the light of assumption. When your conviction is firm, circumstances begin to align with such precision that you cannot help but marvel at the intelligence behind it all. Doors that once seemed closed swing open. Paths that appeared blocked suddenly clear. People you never imagined meeting come into your life at the right moment. The timing, the sequence, the orchestration is perfect, because it flows from a power greater than logic, the power of belief sustained without wavering. Conviction is not loud or restless. It is quiet, calm, and unyielding. It does not beg, plead, or demand. It rests in the assurance that what is real within must show itself without. Conviction does not chase, it attracts. It does not fight against the world. It allows the world to mold itself around the inner pattern. When you live from conviction, you live from strength, for you understand that nothing external can oppose what has already been decreed within. Every circumstance you encounter is simply the outpicturing of a state once entertained. If you wish to change the outer, change the inner. Anchor yourself in conviction, and watch as the world bends to your steadfastness. Do not measure by appearances, for appearances are fleeting. Measure by the certainty within, for certainty is eternal. The more firmly you live in conviction, the faster and smoother circumstances align, until you realize that what seemed impossible was only waiting for you to claim it as already done within. What belongs to you cannot be lost, for life itself is a mirror reflecting your inner state, and what you claim in imagination is already secured in the unseen. No circumstance, no person, no apparent obstacle has the power to rob you of what is yours by right of consciousness. The world may appear to delay or detour the path, but the truth remains that what you have inwardly accepted as real is eternally yours, and will find its way into your experience in perfect time. To fear loss is to confess that what you desire is uncertain, but to live in faith is to know that nothing can slip from your grasp when it has already been claimed in the realm of imagination. The outer world is fluid, ever shifting, filled with appearances that rise and fall, but the inner conviction you hold is the foundation upon which your life is built. When you dare to assume your desire as already fulfilled, you have planted the seed of possession. That seed contains the entire harvest, and though storms may come, though winds may shake the branches, the seed remains intact until it bears fruit. What is truly yours cannot be taken away, for it is secured not by outer forces but by the power of your inner state. So often people fear that opportunities will pass them by, that others will take what belongs to them, that chances will vanish if not grasped immediately. Yet such fears are born of ignorance, for no one can receive what does not match their state of consciousness, and no one can lose what they have inwardly accepted as true. Life is not a battlefield of competition, but a mirror of belief. The door that closes to another will open for you if you stand firm in conviction, for your world is shaped by your assumption, not by another's. When you feel panic about losing something or someone, You reveal that you have not yet assumed ownership within. Ownership is not a matter of legal claim or outer possession. It is a matter of inner knowing. To feel yourself already in possession is to secure it beyond all doubt, and that security cannot be shaken by appearances. The relationship you desire, the success you seek, the abundance you long for, all belong to you once you have dared to live in their reality inwardly. Even if appearances suggest separation, lack, or delay, these are but shadows dissolving under the light of conviction. Consider how often life has proven that what is yours will always return to you. The lost opportunity reappears in a greater form. The closed door leads to a better opening. The missed chance becomes the path to something higher. This is not accident but law. What you assume as yours cannot vanish. It can only reorganize itself and find another way to reach you. To lament, to grieve, to fear is to forget that imagination is the only reality. To stand calm in the knowing that nothing is lost is to align yourself with the power that restores and delivers all that is truly yours. What belongs to you cannot be lost because possession begins in consciousness, not in matter. Consciousness is the root, matter is the branch. If the root is secure, the branch must grow. If you hold the inner conviction, the outer must eventually conform. Even if one channel closes, infinite channels exist through which your desire can flow. The supply is not limited, nor is the path confined. Life will carve rivers through stone to deliver to you what already belongs to you inwardly. To trust this law is to live in peace. You no longer chase, cling, or grasp in desperation. You rest in the assurance that what you have imagined with conviction is inseparable from you. You may release the need to control outcomes, to manipulate circumstances, to anxiously search for signs. Instead, you dwell in the calm certainty that it is already secured. This calmness is not passivity but strength, for it is the power that knows creation is complete the moment assumption is made. Fear of loss is a sign that you are looking outward for confirmation rather than inward. The moment you shift from appearances to imagination, fear dissolves. You realize that nothing external has authority over you. People may come and go, opportunities may appear to vanish, but the essence of your desire remains tied to you by the cord of imagination. The moment you assume, you and your desire are one, and no separation is possible. Living from this awareness frees you from desperation. You no longer feel compelled to cling tightly, for you understand that what is yours will always remain. You no longer feel threatened by others, for you know that no one can take what belongs to you. You no longer mourn delays, for you trust that divine timing is arranging the perfect expression. This inner confidence becomes the atmosphere of your life, drawing to you effortlessly what you once chased in fear. What belongs to you cannot be lost, because it is established in the eternal now. In imagination it already exists, complete and perfect. The outer world is simply catching up, aligning itself to reveal what has always been yours. Trust this truth, live in its assurance, and release every fear of loss. What is yours by assumption is eternally secured, and life itself will move all things to deliver it into your hands. Persist in the end, and it will manifest at the perfect time, for the law of life is certain and unfailing. What you dare to assume as already true, if held with unwavering faith, must harden into fact, yet many surrender too quickly, discouraged by the absence of immediate results, unaware that the interval between assumption and manifestation is the divine process at work. To persist in the end is to remain faithful to the inner vision, regardless of appearances, and to trust that the outer world is steadily reorganizing itself in response to your inner state. The outer world is not the cause but the effect, and once the cause is firmly planted, the effect must come. When you persist in the end, you are not demanding or straining, you are resting in conviction. You are choosing again and again to occupy the state of fulfillment, even when reason argues against it and senses deny it. You are living from the reality of the wish fulfilled, not waiting for the world to confirm it. This persistence is the secret, for the mind that drifts from state to state reaps scattered results. But the mind that holds firmly to the end draws all things into alignment. Persistence is the refusal to be moved by delayed doubt or difficulty. It is the quiet strength that says, "It is mine already," even when the outer world has yet to comply. Just as a farmer does not abandon his crop because he cannot see the roots growing beneath the soil, you must not abandon your assumption because evidence has not yet appeared. Growth takes place in the unseen, and the unseen is the realm of imagination. To persist is to trust this invisible activity, and to know that time is the servant of assumption, not its master. The appointed hour of manifestation cannot be rushed, nor can it be delayed. It arrives with precision, for life operates in harmony with laws that never fail. Every desire contains within it the seed of its fulfillment, and that seed has a perfect season to ripen. To persist in the end is to water that seed daily with feeling, to nourish it with attention, and to protect it from the weeds of doubt. Each time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you strengthen its root, and each time you waver in fear or impatience, you weaken it. Persistence is simply remaining loyal to your vision long enough for the seed to bear fruit. Circumstances may appear contrary, conditions may grow more difficult, and obstacles may arise, but all these are part of the alignment. The outer world must often rearrange itself, dissolve old patterns, and shift people and events to prepare the way for your assumption to emerge. To the impatient mind, this appears as resistance or denial, but to the persistent mind, it is seen as movement toward fulfillment. You may not see the threads being woven, but they are weaving nonetheless. Trust the process and remain steadfast in the end. Persistence is not about constant struggle. It is about quiet repetition of inner conviction. It is the daily practice of assuming the state of fulfillment until it becomes natural, until you no longer question whether it will come but know that it must. The world cannot resist a mind that has accepted its desire as already real, for the outer is powerless against the inner. Persist long enough, and the outer world will have no choice but to mirror the inner picture you have sustained. To persist in the end requires imagination, for you must see beyond appearances. You must dare to construct in your mind the scene that would imply your desire is fulfilled, and you must revisit it with feeling until it becomes your dwelling place. Do not treat imagination as idle play, but as the workshop of creation, for it is here that persistence finds its strength. The more real you make the inner vision, the less sway the outer world has over you. In imagination you are free, unbound by time, able to live already in possession of what you seek. The perfect time is not determined by impatience but by alignment. When all elements are in harmony, when the stage is set, manifestation bursts forth with ease. Often, it arrives suddenly, as though out of nowhere, yet it is never sudden. It is the culmination of persistence, the invisible work finally clothed in visibility. What seemed delayed was simply the necessary orchestration of details you could not have arranged on your own. Divine timing ensures that your desire appears not half-formed or misplaced, but complete, perfect, and undeniable. Persistence teaches patience, and patience is not passive waiting, but active faith. To be patient is to rest in the assurance that it is done, to live joyfully in the end while the world catches up. You do not beg or plead, you accept. You do not question when or how, you know that it is inevitable. Patience is born of conviction, and conviction is born of persistence. When you refuse to surrender your vision, you discover an inner peace that transcends the outer storm. Every great manifestation in history, every achievement, every breakthrough came because someone persisted in the end. They held their vision through doubt, opposition, and delay, and in time, the world confirmed their faith. The same law is yours to use. There is no limit to what you may claim if you persist. What you assume and sustain with loyalty must come to pass, for it is law. Persist in the end, and you will find that life bends in ways unimaginable. People will appear, opportunities will open, circumstances will shift, and what once seemed impossible will unfold naturally. You will marvel at the precision of it all, at how perfectly everything aligns. When you refuse to abandon your assumption, you will see that persistence is the golden key, the bridge between imagination and reality, the force that transforms vision into fact. Do not surrender to doubt, do not be deceived by appearances, and do not measure by time. Hold firm in the end, live from the reality of your desire, and allow the law to work. What you persist in assuming will manifest, and it will do so at the perfect time, in the perfect way, and with a perfection far beyond what you could have planned on your own.